order. Glad that you are here with us. It's May 14th. It's 9 a.m. It's our regular Scott County Fiscal Court meeting with new CDC guidelines. We are operating a little bit back closer to normal. We're glad to be doing that. We will double check today with the Waco Health District about guidance from them, but we'll be moving forward. So with that said, I'd like to ask everyone to join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Wallace, will you lead us?
Yes, sir. Let's pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all.
Keep having weight on everybody.
With that said, we need to address the issue of just approving Kara Oliver as our alternate court clerk for this meeting. Is there a motion to approve? A motion from Rick Hostetler and a second from Alvin Lyons. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. With that said, Kara, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hostetler,
Present.
Mr. Lyons,
Here.
Mr. Wallace,
Here.
Mr. Corman,
Present.
Mr. Ellison,
Here.
Mr. Burke,
Here.
Mr. Livingston, Mr. Marshall,
Here.
Judge Covington.
Present. Thank you very much. Number 5 on our agenda, we'll ask if there's any questions or comments related to the minutes from our previous meeting as presented. Motion from Mr. Rick Hostetler. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Dwayne Ellison. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda, number 6, is transfers as they appear in your packet. Any questions or comments?
Motion for approval.
Motion from Mr. Chad Wallace. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Alvin Lyons. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 7, bills and hand checks. Any questions or comments related to those as appeared in your packet and listed? Is there a motion to approve? Motion from Mr. Kelly Corman, a second from Dwayne Ellison. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Let the record reflect that the clerk submitted fees in the amount of $205,949.93. Let the record reflect that the sheriff submitted fees in the amount of $55,411.04. Number 9, let the record reflect that Magistrate Rick Hostetler and Magistrate David Livingston both completed their training unit. Number 10 leads us to Ordinance 2103, first reading, animal control. This was put in quite a bit of work related to this ordinance, and mostly about dogs, and just would open up the floor for any questions or comments before I ask Rand to read the animal control for first reading, the ordinance. We shared this draft on social media earlier this week. I think, Rick, did you have any feedback from folks?
Not a thing.
Yeah.
I've got a comment, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Magistrate Burke had reached out to me about an issue with people having basically animal waste that was deposited in people's properties. And I was looking at our ordinance, the current ordinance, and Mr. Burke may want to speak to this. The current ordinance talks a lot about animals at large and trying to alleviate that. But I looked back at the city's ordinance, and it talked about animal waste disposal. I mean, it doesn't identify dogs, it identifies different animals, such as cats. And I don't think that an animal at large, or we're focused mostly on dogs at large, not cats at large, because they pose less of a risk. But that could be possibly a nuisance if a cat is pooping on your car, pooping on your deck. And so Mr. Burke brought that to my attention, and I thought that I would bring that to the court's attention if that's something that we wanted to include.
Bill's on here, and Bill can speak for himself as well. Bill emailed me, and I asked Bill if we could consider this ordinance that's before us, and then we could circle back, and if we wanted to, the court wanted to entertain any additional language and amend it, that we could consider cats and any other domesticated animal, I guess.
My continuing struggle is with areas that I represent, Lancelot, Ironworks, Homestead, Longview, that are subdivisions out in the county that is quite different than 5-acre tracts and larger. And that the rules should maybe apply differently in those areas, because I can understand a cat being different in a property that's 1 acre large versus 5 acres.
My intent was, in request of Mr. Burke, was let's, we've done a lot of work, talked a lot about this. I'd like to get it put in place, or at least get the wheels put, and then come back, circle back to the cats or any other domestic animal that we might have to address. Wow. Bill.
Judge, I have no problem with us passing on this for the moment. Certainly the ordinance we have in front of us is very important. There are some side issues that do need to be addressed with regard to animals running at large. A lot of folks are thinking, well, I have a cat, there's no leash law for cats. You still can't have your cat running at your neighbor's house and using it for a litter box. Those are the kind of things we need to address. But as far as the ordinance is before us now, I'm going to move that we go ahead and we'll put this in, and we can come back and amend later.
All right. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
Chad, thank you. Any other comments or questions on the draft that's been shared? And I appreciate everybody's work and effort and communication, and then our animal control staff as well. Appreciate their efforts. Rick.
Well, that sounded like a motion from Bill, and if it was, I'll second that.
All right. Bill, was that a motion? All right. We got a motion from Bill Burke and a second from Rick Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? We will read the draft now and then vote.
This is ordinance number 21-03, ordinance relating to harboring a vicious, dangerous animal, allowing dogs to run at large, and allowing dogs to engage in detrimental behavior. Whereas there presently exists no ordinance prohibiting dogs from running at large in the county, and whereas there presently exists no ordinance prohibiting persons from allowing their dogs to engage in detrimental behavior on other people's property, and whereas the current ordinance pertaining to harboring of vicious, dangerous animals is inadequate, and whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court desires to address these matters in a comprehensive ordinance, now therefore be it ordained by the Scott County Fiscal Court as follows. Section 1, definitions. As used in this ordinance, the following words shall be defined as set out in here. In dog shall mean any canine 3 months of age or older. 2, owner or keeper shall mean any person or persons, firm, association, or corporation owning, keeping, or harboring a dog. 3, vicious, dangerous animals shall mean any animal that attacks, bites, or injures human beings, livestock, or domesticated animals without adequate provocation, or which, because of temperament, conditioning, or training, has a propensity to attack, bite, or injure human beings, livestock, or domesticated animals. It is not necessary that an animal bite, attack, or injure a human being or domesticated animal on a prior occasion, prior to the incident being prosecuted under this ordinance, in order to be considered a vicious, dangerous animal under this definition. 4, quarantine shall mean humane confinement of an animal in a secure enclosure from which it cannot escape, which enclosure prevents the animal coming in unplanned contact with any animals or human beings. 5, excessive noise shall mean noise which is unreasonably annoying, disturbing, offensive, or which unreasonably interferes with the comfortable enjoyment of life or property of one or more persons occupying property in a community or neighborhood, within reasonable proximity to the property where the dog or dogs are kept. Factors that the department may use to determine whether barking is excessive may include but are not limited to the following. 1, the nature, frequency, and volume of the noise. 2, the tone and repetitiveness. 3, the time of day or night. 4, the distance from the complaining or affected party or parties. 5, the number of neighbors affected by or complaining about the noise. 6, any other relevant evidence demonstrating that the barking is unduly disruptive. And 8, whether the dog is being provoked. The provision in this section shall not apply to any commercial animal establishment or hunting dog establishment permitted by zoning law. Running at large shall mean when the animal is not located on the property of the owner or harbored. Section 2, it shall be unlawful for any owner or keeper of any dog to permit such dog to run at large in the county unless accompanied by the owner or keeper and on a leash. Any dog not accompanied by the owner or keeper and on a leash may be impounded. 2, it shall be unlawful for any owner or keeper to keep or harbor any dog that barks or yelps, thereby making excessive noise that is as to disturb the peace and quiet of the neighborhood. 3, dogs being used as herding dogs or hunting dogs are exempted from the provision of this section during such time as the dog is actively being used as a herding dog or hunting dog. 4, any complaint lodged with the Animal Control Office concerning a violation of this ordinance shall be investigated by the Animal Control Officer. 5, not later than 3 days after the impounding of any dog, Animal Control will take steps calculated to notify the potential owner that the dog has been impounded. The owner or keeper may reclaim the dog upon proof that the dog has a rabies inoculation and payment of all costs and charges incurred by the county for impounding and maintenance of the dog. Any dog not reclaimed within 5 days, beginning after the final day of the notice period, shall be eligible for adoption or other disposition. 6, the following charges shall be paid to the county for the impounding of any dog. $10, cost of impounding or pickup. $10, cost of maintenance. $5 per day, and reimbursement for veterinary care and medical expenses. 7, an owner or keeper that violates this section of this ordinance shall be given a written warning for the first offense. Any owner or keeper who has a second or greater violation of this ordinance within a 12-month period may, in addition to any cost of impounding, etc., be guilty of a violation and upon conviction be subject to a fine of not less than $25, no more than $250. 8, the Animal Control Officer and the County Sheriff's Office shall be empowered to enforce this ordinance. Section 3, it shall be unlawful for any owner or keeper of a dog to permit said dog to run at large anywhere in the county while engaged in any of the following. A, damaging or disturbing any items of personal property located on any premises other than those owned or occupied by the owner or keeper of the animal. B, running after, jumping upon, chasing, barking at, biting at, or in any way frightening, molesting or scaring any person other than the owner or keeper of the animal or members of the owner or keeper's immediate family. C, biting, chasing, barking at, attacking, jumping upon, frightening, molesting, or scaring any domesticated animal or livestock. 2, any owner or keeper in violation of section of this ordinance shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. Upon conviction shall be subject to a fine of not less than $100, nor more than $500, or be imprisoned for not less than 1 day, nor more than 7 days, or both. Section 4, any animal, excluding wildlife, which has bitten or scratched someone shall be quarantined for 10 days from the time the bite or scratch occurs. Any owner who fails to properly quarantine his or her animal subject to summons or citation for violations, and the animal shall be impounded by the Scott County Animal Control Shelter for the remainder of the quarantine period. The owner-keeper shall be responsible for all quarantine fees. An animal whose owner-keeper is unavailable or incapable of quarantining the animal may be taken to the Scott County Animal Shelter and quarantined there for the prescribed period. 2, confinement of vicious animal. It shall be unlawful for any person to keep or harbor within the county a dangerous and/or vicious animal as it is at all times kept securely chained or within an enclosure in a manner that it cannot escape from the owner's premises. As such animal is taken off the property, the owner-keeper must be muzzled and on a leash or in a secure cage from which it cannot escape. The owner-keeper must post visible warning signs at all entries to premises. 3, any owner-keeper in violation of this subsection of this ordinance shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, and upon conviction be subject to a fine of not less than $25, no more than $500, or be imprisoned for not less than 1 or more than 30 days, or both, so fined and imprisoned. Section 5, the following sections of the Scott County Code of Ordinances are hereby repealed. 1, ordinance number 92-070 in its entirety. 2, ordinance number 9702 in its entirety. Section 8, A, B, and C of the Scott County Code Enforcement Board Ordinance 16-10. Introduced at first reading today, May 14th.
So we have a motion, we have a second, and any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all for your work on that. We'll come back and have a second reading at our next regularly scheduled meeting. Now, we do have item 11, ordinance 2104, second reading for the 21-22 budget. And if there's no other questions or comments related to that, we have gotten positive feedback, approval from the state on the initial submission, which is very good. Michelle, you have any other comments, or put Michelle on the spot, make sure she's awake back there? With that said, then I'll ask Rand to read the summary.
Ordinance 21-04, an ordinance relating to the annual budget and appropriations, be ordained by the Scott County Fiscal Court, Kentucky, Section 1, the following budget for the fiscal year 2021 through 2022, and the amounts stated are appropriated for the purposes indicated. General Fund, General Government, $9,224,807. Protection of persons and property, $10,646,332. General Health and Sanitation, $990,552. Social Services, $487,929. Recreation and Culture, $1,450,320. Airport Operations, $80,000. Capital Projects, $800,500. Administration, $11,027,305. Total General Fund, $34,707,745. Road Fund, Roads, $2,867,756. Capital Projects, $100,000. Administration, $1,193,471. Total Road Fund, $4,161,227. Jail Fund, Protection of Persons and Property, $2,686,668. Social Services, $325,000. Administration, $1,479,373. Total Jail Fund, $4,491,041. LGEA Fund, Roads, $200,000, which is the total. McCracken Fund, Social Service, $2,000, which is the total. Hospital Trust Fund, Social Services, $2,000, which is the total. Total budget appropriations. Total General Fund, $34,707,745. Total Road Fund, $4,161,227. Total Jail Fund, $4,491,041. Total LGEA Fund, $200,000. Total McCracken Fund, $2,000. Total Hospital Trust Fund, $2,000. Grand total all funds, $43,564,013. Section 2, this ordinance shall be published in the paper by title and summary within 30 days of the adoption of the ordinance. And we've had our first reading. I don't remember the date, quite honestly, but this will be the second reading. Yeah, whenever that.
I think it was.
Yeah.
That's correct. And, you know, a lot of work went in on this, and appreciate everyone's efforts. Budget Committee, time and effort, and then all the department chairs, constitutional officers, and then staff, Michelle, and it's just a total, Stacy, total team effort, and put a lot of effort into it and a lot of thought, and I think it's very good document that will help move us forward. So with that said, is there a motion to approve? Motion from Alvin Lyons. Is there a second? Second from Chad Wallace. Any other questions or comments?
Judge, just a couple of quick comments. I think we discussed it even when we voted the first time. I'm glad to see the work that the court did for really 2.5 years on raising the salaries, because I think the staff and employees of the county are the foundation. And I know as in the public sector, and what I do, and other small businesses and large are competing for help big time right now, and it's all about pay scale. I'm sure that's not over for us, but I'm glad to see we've brought that up. It's taken us a couple of years to do it, and I think that's a good thing, because I think that's the foundation. Just wanted to make that comment.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I agree. Jeff and Michelle, and, you know, just done a really good job. And, you know, it's a continual process, though. We always have to look at the medians and try to balance that with revenue and try to compensate at a market rate that's fair, and trying to get people. So I agree. Our employees are very, very important to us, and I think what we have reflects a good compensation package. And, you know, the thing that's not on paper here is that, you know, we continue to offer really good benefits that we haven't asked our employees to pay any more for that package as well, which is a big part as well. It's huge. Jeff works a lot in the background to navigate that, and that's not on paper, but along what you're saying, it's helping take care of our employees.
It does. I think it affects all departments, the constitutional officer-led departments and our, you know, our directors of the various other departments in combination with everyone you just said. I mean, I think it's a great foundation that we've laid, that we need. I think that's how we provide the services that we're supposed to be providing. So I know it's not over.
Yeah.
But
we'll have to continue to look at
we'll have to watch it closely, but I think we've done a good thing to get us to this point.
We've shared that we'll continue to look at the median, and then, you know, if there's issues, we'll look and adjust appropriately. So, any other questions or comments? We've got a motion. We have a second. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. With that said, we'll move to number 12. Road dedication request. Mr. Ben Krebs is here, J.R. Brandenburg also. They've went and inspected and looked at the request. Road's Collins Risk. It's in Leesburg's Landing subdivision. Ben and J.R., would you all make any comment to the court? Does this recommendation meet your all standards and all the requirements?
Yes.
All right. That's enough for me. I know your all's eyes are very critical when it comes to making sure that they meet the standards. So I appreciate your all's efforts. Any questions from the court?
I did have a question. There was some comments about the cul-de-sac being smaller than normal. Does that cause any issues for fire equipment getting in and out, or any
School bus.
school buses? Yeah, that type of thing.
Ben,
I've never driven a fire truck or anything back there. There is a large turnaround area. There's extra area rock around it and stuff. It is not, what I pointed out, it does not meet that full radius that they originally proposed for the end of their road, which is the typical standard. But there's still a large turnaround area. It may require one extra pull up and back in or something, but I don't think they'll get trapped back there by any means.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
I'd make a motion to accept it.
Motion from Kelly Corman. Is there a second? Second from Rick Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next, number 13, library board appointment. These appointments are a little bit different than, than the standard appointment. These, we receive recommendation with two names from the library board and with the name of a preferred candidate. And I shared that name, Miss Kathy Mattingly is the requested and recommended candidate. Any questions or comments there? And is there a motion to approve that? Motion from Mr. Alvin Lyons. Is there a second? Second from Rick Hostetler. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. This next one, number 14, Board of Assessment Appeals. And this is a unique appointment. They have to have either appraisal or real estate experience demonstrated. And I have myself called on Christine Hoskins, a local broker and real estate agent that has a large amount of experience, and asked her if she'd be willing to serve, and she agreed. And that's the name I'd like to present to you all.
This is for
Tim Jenkins. And this particular board meets, like, you serve for 3 years, and you literally serve for 1 or 2 days in June to essentially,
all at the same
yeah,
time type of
yeah, they review them all, and if there's any assessment appeals, then he needs somebody that's experienced, got real estate experience, but's fair, and we'll try to do what's right. And I have full confidence Christine Hoskins will.
Motion for approval.
Motion from Chad Wallace, a second from Rick Hostetler. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 15, Fire Department new hire. Jeff Mudrack is going to present this information.
Thank you, Judge, Court. On behalf of John Wharton, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Jonathan Mullins as a part-time firefighter. He's been a volunteer with the Stamping Ground Fire Department. His starting pay would be $10.30 an hour, and he can begin work later this month.
Any questions or comments? Is there a motion? Motion from Mr. Alvin Lyons. Is there a second from Dwayne Ellison? Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, number 16, jail new hires. How are you, Captain Humphrey?
I'm very fine, Your Honor, I think.
Well, good.
All things else. Might not be able to tell it by my oxygen, but still, like I said, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is
I
what it is.
appreciate that positive attitude.
Good morning, Your Honor, and magistrates of the court. Jailer Broyles has asked me to speak before you, present our new hires. Of course, I am, for the record, Michael W. Humphrey. I'm the Chief Deputy Jailer for Scott County Jail. We've got a couple people that are leaving. Lieutenant Ann Northcutt, she is going to be retiring here in another week or so. She's got 16 years' experience. She's going to be difficult to replace. She's been integral for quite some time. We've got Deputy Tristan Lindsay, who is going from full-time position to a part-time position. And we have a Deputy Luke Robinson, who is going from full-time to probably part-time, depending upon what happens with his new work experiences he's lining up for himself. We would like to hire Nicholas Rathbone from part-time to full-time at $15 an hour, and we're going to bring back Shane Wilson as a part-time deputy at $14.42 an hour with the fiscal court's approval.
Michael, you said $15 per hour?
For Mr. Rathbone, be $15.50.
Okay, $15.50.
$15.50.
That's the email that we got. I just wanted to be sure it was
Yes.
clear. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Rick Hostetler, second from Kelly Corman. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, the jailer appreciates your all's assistance. Thank you, Matt.
Hey, thank you all. Thank you all. EMS new hire.
Yes, on behalf of Chris Runyon this time, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Chris Burke as an EMT. His pay would be $11.03 an hour, and he could start as early as May 17th.
Okay, any questions or comments? Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Motion from Dwayne Ellison, second from Chad Wallace. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I have one word that really need to be plural if I could.
All right.
So I have one, and Chris also has a part-time employee he wants to add as a paramedic. His name is Matthew Jackson. He has been working for more than a year in Anderson County as a paramedic, and his starting pay would be $14.25 an hour, and he could start later this month as well.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Did you say that full-time or part-time?
It's part-time, just part-time, yeah.
Is there a motion? Motion from Alvin Lyons, second from Rick Hostetler. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Where's that put you at, Chris, with your staffing?
At the school.
Great. And then,
Hard to say these days.
and then after, but the goal is here in June to start, process for after July 1 to add those 3 positions. All right. Very good. I'll call on J.R. Brandenburg to help with number 18. It's a bid for resurfacing of various county roads. J.R., can you share with the court information that you have? And
Yes, sir. We had one bid, and it's for tack oil and the labor of putting down the material. One be at Hamilton Paving, and the dollar amount per ton, $22.85, and $3.60 was exactly what it was last year, so,
That's pretty good then.
yeah, good for us.
Yeah. Any questions for our road scholar, Dr. Brandenburg? We got a motion for approval. I see is that a second?
Second.
A second down there. Any other questions or comments?
What, how many, well, just, what, how big of the surfaces are we talking about? How many roads? Do we have that list somewhere?
Yeah.
We already talked about that.
Yeah. But
It's not a
it's,
different list. It's
how many miles is it, JR?
It's about 12 miles of roads,
Gotcha.
yeah. 9 different roads.
So we've got a motion and a second. Any other questions?
So that'll happen this summer.
Yeah.
Lord willing.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's always the case.
Yeah.
We won't need any paint either.
That's good to know.
So we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. And then JR is up here right now, number 19, Road Department surplus items that was shared with the court. Any questions for JR? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion from Kelly Corman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Dwayne Ellison. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, JR.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your work. Number 20, pay stub service proposal. I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Mudrack.
Okay, as you know, we talked about our electronic access to pay statements during the workshop last week, and I've since then also sent you an email just kind of recapping that conversation, as well as some additional information I found from a pricing standpoint. And, you know, I'll kind of cover a couple key points, but I don't want to, you know, be too redundant here with repeating everything I've already told you. But, you know, the key thing is that the option that Madison County is using, because they use the same software as us, won't really, you know, work in our environment. And so the quote we've gotten is considerably less than even what Madison County is paying. So the implementation of the first year cost would be $6,000, and then $3,300 ongoing, which is 38 cents per employee per pay period. I was able to get some information from my prior workplace where it was 50 cents per employee per pay period. So it is less than that, which was good to know that at least it seemed like it was being priced very fairly. So to be about $1,000 less per year than what ADP would charge. I also attempted to do a comparison with Scott County, but it was just a little difficult because it's a little different environment. Their cost was about 85 cents per employee per year, but what's hard to factor in is maintenance costs, server maintenance, things of that nature, and some of their fees are still bundled, so it's hard to really do a true apples-to-apples comparison there. I also tried to do I did some price checking with a couple other county governments, and unfortunately a lot of their payroll services are now bundled. It used to be that everything was kind of a la carte, and you could imagine the administrative nightmare trying to keep track of all these numbers and every feature that everybody had and just the cost of that. And also from a user standpoint, it's frustrating too, because you're trying to, you know, make sure you're being charged correctly for everything. A lot of payroll companies now have gone to bundled services, so you really can't break it out, you know, piece by piece. So anyhow, I think you have a proposal in front of you. I think it is priced fairly. I also talked with Kara, even again this morning, we were looking at just, you know, what's the cost of staff time, paper, envelopes, toner, things of that nature. I think a hard cost of what we're spending right now is probably $2,500 a year, and you can consider those elements. So it's not much of a difference there, and it doesn't even factor in the time employees spend coming to get the paper pay statements, the the calls we get where people are applying for loans and don't keep copies of their paper pay statements, I think there's some efficiency and that we're gonna also get from this that we're not realizing right now. So that's my recommendation.
You don't have to sell it to me anymore, Jeff. What question do you have, Chad?
Yeah, so the way it works at the school system now, we're all electronic, but we can access W-2s, we can know how many sick days we have and all that kind of stuff. Will this provide the same opportunities?
Well, on the pay statements right now, the sick and vacation leave balances are on that. So it will indirectly, it's not gonna be a separate portal, but it'll be on that document. We do, in time, we would like to put W-2s out there, but Alvin commented last time, and it's true, the full social security number's on the W-2. And before we would do that, I want to make absolutely certain, I mean, I know we're going to have a secure environment, but I want to make sure all the safeguards are in place to protect that personal information. So I think, I feel reasonably certain that will be available to
And
people.
once you get the server protections and all that in place, that's where the direction you want to go in, okay?
Absolutely.
I understand.
Yeah, I want to give people access to their information on a self-service environment, yeah.
Do you have a plan to educate the employees how to access? I'm sure.
Absolutely. We'll have written instructions and, we'll have a communication piece. As far as the launch, we haven't talked about when we can make this possible, but maybe July 1, August 1, something like that. But we would make sure that we sent out emails and things, and, if we have to even go to different departments and show them how to use it, then yeah, we'll do even hands-on instruction if we need to. And I'm sure Carol will be more than delighted to assist with that, is my guess, so, yeah.
Is it worth looking into long-term, switching software totally so you can have a whole bundle package and not two different entities?
I'll defer that to the treasurer and, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it would be hard. It's gonna be more difficult than finding, a payroll system that integrates with the current financials could be challenging.
And
So,
the Fiscal soft that we currently use, we adopted 2 years ago, and Michelle did a lot of due diligence and work to make sure that was the best, and there's a lot that goes into that one, and
it would be hard, I think. Now here's something that I hope will happen, is we try to work with the current software provider to make this, functionality that's available. I think in maybe 2 years, 3 years, they'll do that, and perhaps we'll have done the work of setting this up for them, and they'll be able to just work with the program we're reusing and maybe even reduce the pricing back to us because they'll be able to offer to all their clients instead of an exclusive environment, which is really what I wanted to have happen. But they're just not in a place right now where they feel like they can do that, so.
Is there a motion? Motion from Alvin Lyons. Is there a second? Second from Dwayne Ellison. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank
Thank you. Now, new business. Want to go back to discussion we had in the last work session related to conversations and communication from Kentucky Department of Transportation. And I have put together a resolution that I'm going to ask Rand to read related to Scott County Fiscal Court approving and supporting the application for a federal raise grant. The monies would be used to improve and widen the condition of US 460 from the Bourbon County line to I-75. And the court would be supporting the raise grant application by pledging $1 million towards that project. And I think it's very important. The Bourbon County side has been approved, and they're currently working on those improvements, and that was a successful bill grant application that we supported 2 years ago, and we're not able to get all the funding with that bill grant. However, this would help finish that project, and it just makes so much sense to me that you've got a road that is traveled quite a bit by thousands of vehicles a day, and it has very little shoulder, and the accident rates on that road are considerably higher than other highways across the state. And not only for, the primary purpose in my mind is safety, but the other aspect is economic development for the corridor. So many of our people travel, and so many trucks travel between Bourbon and that corridor as well to Georgetown, Scott County, and I-75. So I think it's a great project for us to pursue, and I'd recommend that we consider this resolution and approving it. What questions or comments does anyone have before we go forward?
Last week, I listened to the conversation, and I've been thinking about that since then. And I have strong concerns about, I believe that the terminology that you used was that they were going to slow down traffic, or when coming through Newtown, is that what's the terminology
Well, and JR, you might have to help me, but heck, Ben might, but my understanding from the proposal the last proposal that I saw, that, outside of Newtown, between Bourbon and Newtown, you will have shoulders that are, I think, plus 6 feet in width on both sides of the road.
It's similar to Cynthiana Road.
Right, it's gonna be much, you're gonna have more room, and there's gonna be more shouldering, and the lanes, I still think, are gonna be 12 feet wide. But as you come into Newtown, they're gonna narrow the shoulder down, and I think it's gonna be curb and gutter in Newtown. And I'm very hesitant to say that, and I wanna back off saying that
Well,
for sure
I
that it's
understand
curb
that.
and gutter, but you're not gonna have that shoulder.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have, reduced speed limit in Newtown. And then once you go out of Newtown, the shoulders will open back up, and you'll have that wider shoulder on both sides again, all the way to 75.
My fear is that if you think about Cynthiana Road and think about Leesburg, okay? When the state built that, they went around Leesburg as you go to Cynthiana today. This truck traffic had come to Toyota, and this is essentially what's going to happen. It's going to come to our factories. But to have the road that is going to go down to a slower speed limit, my fear is that they're not going to slow down. They're just going to continue going, whether there's a shoulder or not. And I think in this resolution that, I would take a firm stand that it needs to bypass Newtown, similar to what happened with Leesburg. Just because I'm thinking about human behavior. People are going to continue, if they're going 55 and they got to go to 35, they're going to continue to go to 55. And I think your first comment is that we need to improve safety. This is not going to be a safe measure. I'm not against the raise grant and applying for it, but I'm strongly against running 460 through Newtown without bypassing it. That's what my concern is.
I can't speak to, there is no finalized plan.
Yeah, but if we take a stance and say, hey, this is what we want, then
you might not get it.
But you may. Obviously the folks in Harrison County took that stance to bypass Leesburg, and they got it. The city a long time ago took a stance, and the county, the fiscal court said, we are not going to fund a bypass. State, you're going to have a bypass, and it happened.
Well, you might be right, but I'll go back. Do you want part of something or all or nothing? And my concern is the safety, and I don't disagree with you, Chad, on the Newtown part. But this body has no control over the specifics and the specs of the road and the route. The State Transportation Cabinet will finalize the project. That's my understanding. And what you're saying is, if we demand that it bypass Newtown. And that's the only way that, and we can do that, this body can certainly do that. But I worry that that might keep us from, you're talking probably the length of the distance in Newtown is probably less than a mile or a little bit more than a mile. And then the other length of the road that many of our citizens live on and travel every day, that's a very dangerous. It's a challenging road especially if you get off the edge. And I do not discount that. If I had a magic wand to wave, certainly we'd go south and go around Newtown. I think the cost is what the transportation cabinet will look at, and then the environmental factors. I don't know if an environmental study's been back. I would by far approve just going south and bypassing it. I'm just trying to move us and move the process to where we can try to access the federal dollars through the grant application and get it done. Can we put in there that the county would by far put greater emphasis and would prefer that it went south of Newtown? We can certainly put that in there. If the court wants to say we're not going to support it unless it goes south of Newtown, we can certainly put that in there. This is the first time this has been brought to me.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Well-
The bypass has been brought up before when we
No, I'm
talked
talking about for the current application
Oh,
process.
I understand what you're saying.
Like nobody's mentioned, can we put in there specific, and say that, hey, we want it to go south of Newtown. We can, but nobody's brought that to me since I brought the chance to do the raise grant.
I have just as much fight from people not wanting it to go to different place. I mean, that's somebody's property that you're gonna go through.
And that's the truth as well.
Well, the judge and Kelly, I think, attended a meeting at Eastern Elementary about this.
We did.
It's those folks that were probably concerned. You probably heard the feedback.
I had some feedback, but, the final route reduced, it's been a while since I've looked at it specifically, but it reduced the number of homes or structures that might be impacted from what initially was worried about. And I can't tell you that I had, I might have had one or two calls, but I can't remember or recalling when we were in the depth of trying to support the bill grant of anybody calling and saying, you must oppose this. I don't want, I can't say that I had somebody call in the office saying, I demand that you oppose this.
I'm just,
Ed, I'd like,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just think, Megan, back to your comment.
Have you had a phone call from
Oh,
citizens
yeah, multiple people. But you've got to remember.
since we just talked about this?
No, it went in the earlier stages was about bypassing Newtown. I think it was a few years ago when y'all had the meeting out there. And look, that's where I grew up, and I have people and relatives that still live there, so they're probably more apt to reach out to me. Not to say that anything against you all, that you know how that goes. But with that being said, I think your comment is would you rather have all of something and maybe be lack of what you exactly want? But I think I want all of something that's done right. And I'm just telling you, I believe it's going to create a safety issue going through Newtown.
You already have a safety issue though. I drive that all the time and it's bad right now.
Exactly.
So if we don't widen, I understand both arguments, but, I think we can work towards both a little bit. But, we got to try to find 90% of it at least.
The compromise is we're going to get a widened, let's just say from Bourbon County to I-75, it's 10 miles. So right now we have a dangerous 9 miles. Take Newtown out. And if you don't think they're going fast as heck through Newtown right now, I go through Newtown all the time. I mean, they're not slowing down now.
And there's a sign.
and there's a sign.
It is reduced.
But the other 9 miles that has no shoulder, that's dangerous, that school buses that clip mirrors on a daily basis, I'd rather have those 9 miles improved. That it's just the trade-off.
But you could have 10.
But the way you were presenting it was all or nothing. That we're not going to support it unless you go south of Newtown. And I'm not willing to do that.
But
Now,
I'm gonna make a comment too, because I talked to several people about this, and the question that was asked, and I think it's a good question, and I asked the state this, and I don't know if I have an answer. But if we do that, how many more big trucks are now gonna travel that road? And how much increased traffic are they expecting once they do this? I mean, are there trucks now that don't travel this route because they're too big for that road? And once that road is open, now they'll travel that road a lot. And if that's the case, it really is unfair to people that live in that mile stretch. All of a sudden, they've got 100 semis going by an hour now that didn't used to. And
I would say most of them are coming that way regardless, because to go any other way costs too much money.
well, the other question
So
I
even
had
if
is,
they are too big, they're still coming.
you know, are they gonna jam up Connector Road, or are they gonna go down to the light and turn on the bypass and go down? Because human nature is you're gonna take the shortest route, and we already know what Connector Road looks like. Well, let's put 50 semis on there an hour, and I don't know. Those are just good questions, and I'd be curious to ask the state, what do they expect the traffic count to go up, and especially big vehicles? And then I think we really, go back to these people that live in that area you're talking about, because it does make a big difference. I think that if the increased traffic is a whole lot more, and a lot of the traffic's big trucks, that kind of stinks if you live in that mile stretch. Go ahead, Rudy, I'm done.
Well, I went to that meeting as well, and I remember they had a map up, and I don't remember all the details. But they actually, one of their big maps had different colored dots for all the accidents. Y'all remember that? Mm-hmm. I can't remember what it looked like in Newtown.
I don't disagree. I'm all for the road getting widened.
Right.
It just,
I'm just trying to jog your all's memory. I can't remember what the dot situation looked like in Newtown itself. My recollection is the bad accidents were out in between Newtown and Bourbon County. That's my recollection. I remember even having conversation with folks when we were looking at that map, because it was residents who said, well, I live right there and I saw that, or, I saw that happen. I'm just trying to jog your all's memory. My memory is most of the bad stuff was between Newtown and Bourbon County, but that doesn't mean that that part's, my memory's totally correct. But the other thing is, there are speed limit signs, reduced speed limit signs posted now. Dwayne, if you're not following, is the sheriff in here? No. But there were a lot of citizens from that whole corridor, and a lot of conversations held. Now, back to another memory, and see if you guys remember, when the judge from Bourbon County was here a couple years ago, he talked about the increased truck traffic. That's part of their issue, if I remember correctly, was their business park over there. They needed a widened corridor. They're already coming to Scott County, but they're coming another route that's longer. So obviously, those folks are gonna show up in Newtown. And is there no widening in Newtown? I can't remember that part of it.
Nothing's been finalized, but what was shared with me was that as I said before, the shoulders would be reduced. You'd have minimum impact on structures. You'd want signage to slow folks down or try to slow folks down. And then once it got back out of Newtown, it'd widen back up. I don't think anybody disagrees, or I think everybody would agree that if we had a magic wand and it was the best route to go and bypass to the south of Newtown, we'd all prefer that. But from my limited experience, I don't know how much say-so that we can have to dictate the path of the road, and how much more it would cost, and would that make it less of a,
25 million or something
Yeah,
now, or is
but-
that what we said last week, Rick?
but
I remember you.
Was it closer to 30?
Yeah, closer to 30.
What
and
were
then-
we?
But I can tell you all this, that these same questions, these same kind of things have been talked about since 1996. Because I have a book down in my office that was left by the former judge that US 460 corridor improvement booklet. And we've talked about it since 1996. How many wrecks have happened between then and now? That's my whole thing. And yes, if we could go south of Newtown, that would be great. It'd be my certainly preferred route. And this body can put in this resolution. We would prefer a route that bypassed Newtown Pike. We can put that in there if y'all want to do that. I drafted this yesterday, shared it with Rand. Rand thinks it looks good. If you all want to add that after he reads that, I'll support that. But I don't know what the Kentucky Department of Transportation will say in response. They'll say, well, we can try, maybe.
Is it District
Yeah,
7?
District 7, but it's state level folks too. And I don't have an
know if that's
answer.
in there, but I think it is worth a phone call to
Yeah.
somebody to say,
No,
can we at least have this discussion, and can you tell us why you're not gonna do this?
Yeah.
Maybe they can show up here
No.
to the next.
And Chad, if y'all want to add that, I support adding that, and I'm glad you brought it up. Me just, trying to process through and not thinking that we can control the route.
But I'm
maybe
sure
we
these
can.
same conversations were had when, back to my 62 example of Leesburg, I'm sure these same exact things happen. And so hopefully, we can have that transfer into the logic here. I can think of $1 million worth of reasons of why that the county, the district would listen to us, as far as in terms of dictating the route.
Last week when we had the workshop, the total funds needed to I think it was close to 30 million.
Yeah, I wanna say 20,
How much was it, Rick?
27 or something like that.
I think it was 30 plus or minus.
It's a little over 30.
And
30.
what the federal government looks at and grades out these applications is their local commitment. That's the dollar amount. Is they're wanting commitment from the local community to get support for those federal dollars.
The concern about the increased truck traffic, Bourbon County's already got approved, that's gonna get done, so you're gonna get some of those extra trucks already.
Here's what I wonder.
They ain't gonna stop halfway.
Yeah.
My understanding is now, you can, there's federal regulations on what roads a semi can use and what they can't. And I know from prosecuting, we've prosecuted people for going down 460 and we shouldn't. I wonder, will that change when it's widened? Will that change the federal status where now because that'll make a huge difference.
Rand lives on the road. Kelly serves that district. I live in the district. I mean, what do y'all think about putting in the resolution a line that says, Scott Fiscal Court, in recognition of trying to keep all citizens as safe as possible, would ask the state to weigh highly the southern route of bypassing Newtown, or some language to that.
I don't think you gotta put southern route, just say bypass Newtown.
Yeah,
Right.
bypass Newton, a route that would bypass the city, the community of Newtown. But I would like to try to do this because from conversations with Ron Rigney yesterday, they're ready to have the consultants start working on like literally as soon as we pass this resolution and communicate it to them. Randy, does everybody support adding that in?
Oh, I agree. I think we should.
Yeah, and I, Chad, I'm glad you brought it up, but my whole thing is, you know,
I still need to go after the other 30 million.
yeah.
Get the job done for the 90%.
And I'll,
If we're gonna do it, let's just, I want it done right. That's essentially
Yeah.
the way I look at it.
you think you got it, Rand?
Well, I'm working on the fly here. But yeah, give me just 1 minute.
And with Newtown Christian Church being on the historical registrar, I would think that they would want to bypass it anyway.
It was not gonna impact it.
We also have now commercial business down there as well. It's gonna, you know, generate more traffic.
No, it will.
I just don't want it to be a safety issue.
Already is.
Yeah, but it'll be less of a safety issue if they go around it.
It would be the best if it went around.
That's exactly right.
I don't disagree with you there. But maybe I use that, do we want part of something or all or nothing? That, maybe I use that too much.
Let's keep talking so Rand doesn't feel bad.
I'm just staring at you, Randy. It's okay.
All right, how about this? Adding it to the rest of the resolution. While this resolution is not contingent upon the location of 460 to avoid the community of Newtown, it is the unanimous strong request of the Scott Fiscal Court that 460 be rerouted away from this community. And of course, I said unanimous. That may or may not be the case, but if it is the case, and we can, you know, that's just on the fly. Obviously, we can. I'll read it again. While this resolution is not contingent upon the location of 460 to avoid the community of Newtown, it is a unanimous strong request of Scott Fiscal Court that 460 be rerouted away from this community.
I agree with that.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me. You good with that, Chad?
I'm good. I would just go back to say that this court has invested a lot of money in the state issues, the roundabout, stoplight up on the bypass next to Great Crossings High School. We've continued to make the right decisions, and I hope the state, if they want our involvement, they will continue to recognize the importance of our wishes, and hopefully we can get this done.
All right. And when I call Ron Rigney, I will, you know, I'm gonna share this with him, but I'll share that it's the court's desire that if there's any way to bypass Newtown, to please consider that route the most desirable.
All righty, a resolution of the Scott County Fiscal Court approving the application for the U.S. Department of Transportation RAISE grant and pledging matching funds to the project. Whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court previously pledged support to the Bourbon County Fiscal Court in a 2019 application for U.S. Department of Transportation bill grant funds for the widening and improvement of U.S. Highway 460 between Scott County and Bourbon County. Whereas the Bourbon County application was awarded funding for the improvement of U.S. 460 in Bourbon County to the Scott County line. Whereas the Scott Fiscal Court recognizes the continued need for improvements to U.S. 460 in Scott County from the Bourbon County line to Interstate 75 to enhance safety for thousands of motorists that use it daily, and further recognizes the importance of U.S. 460 for the impact on economic development in both Scott and Bourbon counties. Now therefore be it resolved by the Scott County Fiscal Court that the Scott County Fiscal Court will collaborate with the Kentucky State Department of Transportation on the 2021 RAISE grant application, and the Scott County Fiscal Court pledges support for the project in the form of matching funds not to exceed $1 million. While this resolution is not contingent upon the location of 460 to avoid the community of Newtown, it is a unanimous strong request of the Scott Fiscal Court that 460 be relocated away from this community. This resolution is approved, assuming you do today, May 14th, 2021.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion from Kelly Corman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Dwayne Ellison. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. At this time, I have no other new business other than to ask for a motion to go into executive session to discuss possible litigation. I have that piece of business, Is there any other new business from,
Just, we talked about it at the workshop, and I don't know if you've had an opportunity to follow up, or, well, Jared's not here.
Jared went to a stormwater,
Well,
Seminar.
I think he had said something about, I can't remember who even said they were following up, but the drowning victim, I got, as I said in the workshop, some complaints or some concerns about could we, during high water times, or I don't know how you process that, but put up a chain across the boat ramp or those kind of things, more signage. But I know the comment was the state's looking into that because they own the dam, and
I've not had any conversation with Fish and Wildlife.
That's it.
We have had conversation about, could we put up additional signage? Could you put up some, a gate or a chain, kind of similar? And definitely want to move forward with doing that, but I don't have any other additional update.
I just wonder, one of the folks that contacted me had seen them putting the kayaks, I think. One of them was in the water maybe, and they were getting ready to put the other one in or whatever, and that's when they were leaving. And of course, we know what happened, and, they actually made a comment to me that they were, when they were driving away, they were going, really, are you gonna do that? But they did it. So, they were just looking for a way, was there any way that the county could, in those circumstances, I don't know if we could or not, more signage, put a chain up. 'Cause I think you mentioned, though, that there have been times, and I think JR's folks goes out there and puts a
Jared put
up in the driveway.
barricade. No, he'll put a barricade across the gate,
Right.
the entrance.
Entrance to the park itself, yeah. Right. Okay, well, I just kind of wanted to highlight that again.
Mike, you raised your hand like,
I just wanted to say that we're in the process of doing some signage on the creek, doing a mile marker system so people can tell 911 where they're lost at. But part of that is also a warning sign system where there would have been a sign 500 feet from there saying dam ahead, take your kayak out now, there's nowhere to go forward from here. The signs exist, they just haven't been installed that far down the creek yet. So when it comes to putting chains on the boat ramp, that's fine, but a lot of these people are putting in randomly just on the side of the creek somewhere. So.
they'll put in here, there, and yonder, and it's a tragedy, terrible, and and everybody, the condolences to their family and such, and if there's something that could be done to help reduce the chance of that happening again, let's certainly look at it. But it's a challenge when you're talking about nature and all the variables that go with it. So,
That's something.
yes, sir.
I passed out a noise ordinance. The Longview HOA contacted me about a noise ordinance. I just wanted to give that for y'all's information and to look at. Their main concerns were loud parties and fireworks in times that are not New Year's and 4th of July. So I was just gonna pass it out for informational purposes. And
Do you have another copy?
yeah, oh yeah, I got, yeah.
Michelle?
Just want to make the court aware that yesterday, we were finally registered with the Treasury, Federal Treasury, to start to receive the funds for ARPA. It was a long process getting to that point, but we got an email back that that our application and registration has been submitted and received. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that.
And just to make everyone aware that we will have to amend the budget
Yes,
once we receive those funds.
probably the 2021 fiscal year we'll have to amend close to the end of the fiscal year when we receive those funds. And then once the new fiscal year begins, we'll have to amend the new budget at that
So
time.
twice.
Yep.
All right. Any other new business? Anyone else? Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Does Rand, so moved, but does Rand need to read the reason for?
Well, Joe Pad said it, pending
I'm-
litigation.
For pending litigation?
You already said it.
So I saw a motion from Kelly Corman. Is there a second from Rick Cost?
In motion. He's
All right.
in motion.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We'll go into executive session. Please let the record reflect that there was no action taken in executive session. Coming from executive session, is there a motion to come out of executive session? Motion from Chad Wallace, a second from Mr. Hostetler. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to come out has been approved. With that, if there's no other business, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion from Dwayne Ellison, a second from Alvin Lyons. All those in favor? Any opposed? We are adjourned.